Contrarian fact number 1. The autism spectrum encompasses every mental health disorder. Did you know that every mental health disorder and all the comorbidities are all born of abandonment trauma? The autism spectrum encompasses everything. You might be thinking narcissism can't be, or psychopathy or schizophrenia or OCD, phobias, PTSD, depression or paranoia can't be. They must all be something separate to autism, right? Wrong, they are all part of the autism epidemic and born of the same developmental differences as our eating disorders, addiction disorders, the rising rates of homosexuality, gender and body dysmorphia, incels, insomnia, dementia, genius, madness, suicide, cluster A, B, C, and literally everything you can think of that could be construed as mentally abnormal. Contrarian fact number 2. Autism is a natural and normal adaptation to scarcity. Conventional wisdom says that autism is born of genetic pathology. This idea is completely wrong. Autism and everything that goes with it is a natural and normal response to intergenerational anxiety and the inevitable consequent sensation of abandonment. No genetic pathology is required. The environment of perceived scarcity acts on the epigenome, which then selects alternative genes that are designed by evolutionary processes over deep time to cope with the prospect of there not being enough to go around for everyone. The full machinations of how genes function and express is fiendishly complicated, and we are only beginning to understand the full panoply of how genetics works. One thing is certain in cases of autism, and this is that the developmental brain differences are entirely predictable and therefore natural and normal, and an intentionally legitimate part of nature's grand design. Just because it is complicated and difficult to understand does not mean it is automatically wrong or diseased or pathological. Time will show us that it is the wicked world of monetary scarcity that is the problem, not our genes. Contrarian fact number 3, autism is contagious. Anxiety is contagious, and therefore so is autism and everything that goes with it. Human longevity is currently going down for the first time in human history. Public health is in decline across the world, and the autism epidemic is synergistically spreading across the world. The idea that autism is contagious flies in the face of conventional wisdom, which insists that autism is born of genetic abnormality. But if you stab a tire with a knife and it bursts, then does the tire have an inherent disease? Obviously not. But what if the mechanism of stabbing the tire is so complicated, opaque and misunderstood that it is not obviously the cause of the deflation of the tire? In this case, you could be forgiven for thinking the tire itself had an inherent problem. This is how it is with autism. Genetics is not only complicated, but the wicked world does not want you to know for fear of diminishing the gargantuan industries of human ill health. Genetics can be simplified to show that the environment acts on the epigenome, which then selects the genes according to need. If the needs change, the gene expression changes that can create a completely different outcome. Remove anxiety from the world and you stop the contagious spread of autism. It's a simple fact. Contrarian fact number 4. Autism does not require genetic pathology. Genetic disease is certainly possible in cases of autism, but it is not required at all. A rogue gene for autism will never be found because it does not exist. It is 100% the environment. In the same way that stabbing a tire does not require anything to be wrong with the tire, so too nothing needs to be wrong with the genome in cases of autism. There could be something wrong with the tire, but it is not required in order to be stabbed and punctured. Imagine stabbing all the tires in a car park. Many burst, but more withstand the blow. Imagine that the tires are living organisms, and upon being stabbed, they express different genes that make the tire thicker, more resilient, and more likely to withstand further assaults. This is analogous to our genome in the midst of societal breakdown. We are naturally becoming more selfish, more narcissistic, and mostly more resilient to the assaults we face. Only a few become completely deflated and unable to cope. This is the difference between high-functioning and low-functioning autism. High-functioning autists are more likely to cope and survive the impending collapse of all our systems than neurotypical folk. Unfortunately, the neurotypicals will lack the required ruthlessness to thrive beyond 2060. Contrarian fact number 5, plants can be autistic. Poor, defenseless, convention-minded neurotypicals are so baffled by this that they laugh at the idea. How can plants be autistic? They chuckle. They don't even have a nervous system. But who said autism is dependent on a nervous system? It isn't. Autism is any developmental difference adapted to scarcity. In humans, scarcity is assumed in an environment of anxiety, and a normal human brain will grow a bigger amygdala, a bigger prefrontal cortex, and fewer long-range connections in such an environment. The purposes of these developmental differences are fully explained in previous videos. In the plant world, there are similar developmental differences that occur in the presence of scarcity of water, nutrients, space, or sunlight. And individual plant species will grow differently accordingly, and to such a degree as to appear a different species. Some plants are inherently expectant of scarcity and operate narcissistically. The dandelion, for example, spends most of its energy on preventing other plants from growing nearby, rather than getting on with its own flourishing. This is why pessimistic, unenlightened human narcissists are like the weeds of human society. They subconsciously enjoy the demise of others in the belief that there is not enough to go around, and so more will be available to themselves. It is delusional thinking, but happens anyway. Contrarian fact number 6, children can grow out of autism. This is perhaps the most contrarian and indeed controversial fact in our list. Those that profit from ill health really do not want you to know this. A particular environment creates autism, and a particular environment can take it away again. We can create the right environment and do so without the need for any expensive drugs, therapies, or anything other than a good book on meditation. Of the 3 developmental brain differences that characterize autism, 2 of them are completely reversible. The doubling of the size of the amygdala and the curtailment of long-range connectivity in the autistic brain can both be effectively counteracted using meditation. By spending, say, an hour a day compassionately meditating on your relationships with other people, you can create the long-range connectivity between your medial prefrontal cortex and the back of the brain regions that process these other people. In doing so, your social interactions with these people will necessarily improve. It happens in subtle, subconscious ways that are more powerful than you would probably expect. By improving social interactions, your amygdala will slowly but surely reduce in size, and its ability to cause anxiety and all the other common presentations of autism will decrease proportionally too. With skill, determination, and time, autism can be cured. The first step toward curing autism is a true understanding of its nature and origins of autism, and so please do watch all the videos on this channel first. The final step is skillful meditation, and make it your lifelong practice. Contrarian fact number 7. Autistic people are more empathetic than normal, not less. A common misconception is that autistic people are less empathetic than neurotypical folk. Most autistic people are, in fact, empaths, and are more in tune with and reactive to the feelings of others than neurotypicals. So much so, this can be often overwhelming. Only high-functioning autists are narcissistic and therefore lack personal empathy. However, despite the narcissism, high-functioning autists, more often than not, have high morals and work tirelessly toward a better, bigger picture, and arguably justify their ruthlessness. In any case, overall, most autistic folk are more empathetic than normal, not less. Contrarian fact number 8. Jesus Charles Manson, the Buddha. Donald Trump, the Prophet Mohammed, Hitler, and Elon Musk are all on the spectrum. It is hard to think of anyone of note that is not some sort of genius and therefore on the spectrum. Certainly the people in this list were all a long way along the spectrum. Again, the hapless conventional wisdom brigade will struggle to get their head around the idea that Jesus was on the spectrum, but let's look at the facts. He was a charismatic genius who ultimately committed suicide. This is not normal, and his developmental differences were caused by the trauma of King Herod trying to kill him before he was even born, along with all the other male babies born at the time, because Herod was trying to destroy the prophecy of a new king of the Jews. If you study the lives of all these people mentioned, they all had severe trauma during their infancy. This can break you, or it can make you into someone to be remembered. Contrarian fact number 9. The scarcity mindset rules the world. The limbic system is the primal ape region of the human brain. It evolved over millions of years of scarcity, when our ancestors were apes living in a shrinking Central African jungle. The reason why we evolved into humans is because about 7 million years ago, some of those chimp-like ancestors ventured down from the trees to forage for food on the burgeoning African savanna. Eventually, those adventurous ancestors gained the ability to live permanently on the plains, and suddenly their world transformed from scarcity to abundance. In accordance with this fact, the neocortex human brain evolved as a bolt-on addition to the limbic system. It turns out that the collective consciousness of the neocortex human brain represents our notions of God and is characterized by love, forgiveness, and cooperation. The collective consciousness of the limbic system, on the other hand, represents the devil inside and is characterized by hate, vengeance, and adversarial, destructive conduct. The collective neocortex builds empires, and the collective limbic system destroys them. As we near the end of the global empire, the collective limbic system is gaining the upper hand, and thus the scarcity mindset is ruling the world with an increasingly totalitarian rod of iron. This channel highlights the problems. My other channel, The Second Coming, gives the solution. Contrarian fact number 10. They don't want you to know the truth. Why would anyone not want others to know the truth, you wonder? The key feature of the scarcity mindset is its desire to prevent anyone else from flourishing in the delusional belief that there is not enough to go around, and therefore removing other consumers leaves more for us. Unfortunately, only the paranoid narcissists will survive, and they are running the world against your interests. The woke hive mind is creating more illnesses for you to buy medicine and treatment for, not fewer. The AI in the system is working hard to prevent you from knowing about your ability to heal yourself. But take it from Jesus, the truth will set you free.